So, how green is your smart city? We're told that smart cities will save the planet, and eventually they will, but in the meantime, how can we be sure that they won't be making things actually worse? In this episode, we look into the real impact of smart tech on climate, on mobility, on energy, on cities. Plus, I have a great talk with Antonio Álvarez Romero from OpenNebula. He works in Spain. He's been working with the EU-funded projects for over a decade. Let's just say that cybersecurity is not just a buzzword for him, okay? He shares in this interview, you can't miss it, he shares exactly how private companies can innovate, get funded, and still staying sane, or trying to stay sane. He actually shares the best strategy to enter EU-funded projects, and he also shares why Europe needs to move faster in innovation. Don't miss the part when he explains how paperwork, reporting, actually matters a lot, and how partners can become clients. Partners in EU-funded projects can, in the end, become clients. And also, he explains how the three best ways to use EU-funded projects and how he has applied them. So it's a very rich interview. Don't miss Antonio's experience. And in this episode, you can also learn why living in cities can actually shrink your carbon footprint, why connecting smart cities may matter more than scaling them, and how to spot the difference between real transformation and greenwashing. A lot of it. You'll also discover how university alliances like REKA are handling this smart city, climate neutral city deal. So today it's really all about the future. Let's go. So, are smart cities green by design, or are they gray? They look gray to me. Well, you heard those words, smart cities. You heard it often, particularly in the EU context. You know that urban areas harness digital technologies and data-driven innovations to enhance quality of life. That's the main idea. Reduce environmental impact, optimize public services, all that with digital technologies and data-driven innovations. This is central to the EU twin transitions, green and digital transition. And that's why we hear so much about smart cities. But actually, how green are these smart cities? Because while digital tools like AI-driven traffic management or smart grids, they offer great potential, they can really make cities greener. They also raise some concerns because they consume a lot of energy. The infrastructure supporting smart technologies, data centers, sensors, networks, they can be quite energy intensive. And where does that energy come from? Most importantly, how is that green energy produced? How green is the production of that energy? Not just energy. If you look at water usage, cooling systems for data centers usually require water, scarce good, and increased electronic waste can pollute water resources, does pollute water resources. So the city size matters in these issues because larger cities may have more resources, more budget to implement smart solutions. But on the other hand, larger cities, larger cities are not the most agile. They take more time to adapt new technologies to local needs. So connectivity is an issue of the utmost importance here. Interconnected smart cities can share data, can share solutions, best practices, and this can lead to more cohesive, and the more efficient urban development across all regions. Even though that's easier said than done, because if you look at it, living in cities can actually reduce our carbon footprint, mankind's carbon footprint. Many people argue that urban living means shorter commutes, shared resources, more efficient public services, and all of this contributes to lower per capita emissions, so smaller footprint. But not all digital innovation is green. As we saw before, data centers, surveillance systems, even blockchain can have high energy use. And the distinction between real green transformation and tech-driven greenwashing is very often hard to do. And we have to look at the final result. A lot of critics caution against this over-reliance on technology because there are privacy concerns. Extensive data collection can lead to surveillance and misuse of personal information, can and does often. On the other hand, the digital divide means that not all citizens have equal access to digital tools, and this potentially will exacerbate social inequalities and conflicts. And finally, one-size-fits-all solutions are never the real solution. Technologies must be adapted to local contexts to be truly effective. So these are the most common criticisms. Urban Research Education Knowledge Alliance, REKA, this European University Alliance, unites over 30 partners and associate partners. And this includes higher education institutions, municipalities, and other partners. And they are working to drive the transition towards climate neutral and smart cities. How? Through collaborative research, shared expertise, and a commitment to innovation. And this is the key part of all this. All these smart cities, digital transition, green transition, all of this has to be done with more solutions than we have nowadays. Research and innovation is key in this area. And that's why this is one of the most active areas of research and EU funding. So Eureka is an example that aims to shape sustainable urban futures across Europe. It's all about the future. Tech SMEs have a big role in this and many opportunities in this area. Green digital solutions, food production, even food production can be redistributed from the countryside to the cities, at least partially. Waste management, logistics, water management, there is a lot of problems to be solved. And where there are problems to be solved, there are opportunities to innovate that SMEs and startups can explore. But on the other hand, municipalities also have huge opportunities here by building urban platforms that will greatly improve the quality of life in their cities. There's a lot for research and development institutions, a lot to be done here. Through data integration, AI integration, there's really a lot to be done in this area, and also a lot of room for public-private consortium addressing these net zero goals. That's why there are so many programs funding this kind of research, like the EU missions and Horizon Europe. So it's all about the future, as I said. So welcome back to InnovEU, the EU Project Chronicles. Welcome, Antonio Álvarez Romero, and thank you for being here. You are in Seville, Spain, and you've been working with the EU-funded projects for a decade or more. Would you like to tell us how did you start? What was your first experience?
Yes, well, first of all, thank you for having me and inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here. Yeah, I remember when I started, it was back in 2014. It was still the FP7. And my first project was entitled Cumulus, and it was about cloud security certification in an automated way. So the idea was, trying to replace these manual audits that were taking maybe every half a year or every year with an auditor that would do some checks manually. But maybe later, when the auditor was gone, the day after that, you had a problem and you didn't notice until the auditor was back.
Mm.
So and it could be 6 months later or 1 year later, and you didn't know at all that you had a security problem there. So the idea was to have a tool that could be doing that in real time. That was my first project. I didn't have experience at all in it, and I found myself being appointed to lead the pilots, to lead the work package of the pilots and also the exploitation task. So I had two leadership in my first experience ever in new
That was a
projects.
good start.
Well, it was a good start,
Was it
definitely.
a large partnership in that project?
No, only 7 partners. It was a rather small consortium. Yeah.
I guess pretty technical, all right?
Yeah, it
I
was
would
very
say pretty
technical.
nerdy.
Yeah, I remember my first meetings that I was completely lost because they were talking about very, very specific technical topics, and for me it was a bit difficult to follow. I didn't even have experience in meetings in English, so everything was completely new to me. But yeah, little by little, I managed to adapt and actually made a good contribution to the project in the end. But I have to confess that I was a bit scared at the beginning.
So you been working in the other EU-funded projects, but was it always on that area of I don't know how do you find the area you work in
Well, it
cybersecurity?
was I was working at the university, and somehow I wanted to move to the private sector. And the way I found I could do it was to join the innovation department of a cloud company, a local cloud company here in Sevilla. They had an innovation department, and they had a number of regional, national, and European projects. And I can say that I didn't, choose the topic. I found that it was about cloud, it was about security, and that was the first topic I worked on. And yeah, later on in the subsequent projects, they were about cybersecurity, so that was the common point, but with some subtopics inside, because you could find cybersecurity for supply chains, you could find cyber risk monitoring, you could find cyber training, working on cyber ranges, then also protection of critical infrastructures.
Mhm.
And cybersecurity was just one part of protecting the infrastructures, but it was a wider topic. And yeah, later on, when I joined OpenNebula, I found a new topic that was Cloud and Edge, the Cloud Edge continuum. And now the projects I am working on have rather to do with this topic of the continuum.
Mhm. Would you
So
tell us a
I
little bit
wouldn't say
about
I
Nebula?
was choosing the topic. The topics chose me instead of the other way around.
I like that. I like that. Would you tell us a little bit about Nebula, your present company?
Yes, it's a company that was established in 2010. So now it's been 15 years since then. In terms of headcount, we are now close to 70 people. The headquarters are in Madrid, but we also have offices in Brussels, Berlin, in the Czech Republic, and also in Massachusetts, in
Hmm.
the US. And it's a peculiar company because it's a single product company. OpenNebula Systems is the name of the company. OpenNebula is the name of the product. It's the first European open source infrastructure as a service solution. So it's a virtualization platform that can manage your enterprise public, hybrid, or edge infrastructure. So what the tool does, what the platform does, is it can combine resources that come from the public cloud, using the advantages of the public cloud, which are simplicity and agility, but can also combine it with resources from the private cloud, whose advantages are performance, security, and control. So the idea is that we can get resources and manage resources from the whole cloud edge continuum. They can come from the private and the public cloud, and we can present our resources under a single control panel and an interoperable virtualization layer to the user. And our value proposition is focused on the fact that it's a very simple, flexible, scalable, and especially vendor-independent tool.
I'll try to make this question. Uh, Please bear with me. I'll try to make myself clear. When you entered any EU-funded project, or the EU-funded projects you have in fact entered and performed, what's your positioning? Do you join the partnership with your solutions and contribute to the end result, or do you enter the partnership and use the results of the project to improve your product? Am I being
Well, yeah, we have
or both?
three different approaches when we join projects. One is clearly to use the project to further develop the tool, to incorporate new features and to make it stronger. We can also join the project to have a new use case study for the tool, to put it in the context of a certain vertical or a group of verticals, and challenge the tool and understand prospective requirements from different client profiles, let's say, and then in reality you see things that you saw in the project. So it's really interesting also this approach when joining the project. And also we are involved in European policy projects. So we are trying to push a bit for the open source, and also for what is called the technological sovereignty of Europe, which is about not being so dependent on non-EU products when it comes to technology. So there, along with other partners in Europe, we want to make a contribution to make Europe more technologically independent, let's say. So these are the three main, ways we have to be involved in EU projects.
Well, one of the reasons I like having you as a guest on the podcast is to address this issue, because a lot of people see EU-funded projects as being meant only for universities or public institutions. And that's not your case. You are a private company. So what kind of programs do you apply to nowadays?
Well, Horizon Europe, of course, but within Horizon Europe, we have different, for example, we have the cluster 4, but we also go to SNS-EU, for example. Also, we are looking into Digital Europe as well. So dependent on what we want to do, we target one or the other. Yeah, but Horizon Europe is the main one, let's say.
Okay. What kind of partners do you usually have in your projects?
Well, it depends on the topic. So we have 4 main topics, and depending on that, the partners are some or others. So we have the topic of the cloud edge continuum, as I was saying. We have the topic of the sovereign cloud that has to do with the technological sovereignty I was discussing. Of course, enterprise artificial intelligence. So for us, artificial intelligence is going to be an extremely important feature for the future versions of our product, and also the policy part is the other type of project. Yeah, and depending on it, we have some type of partners or other.
Sure.
But we are working with a very ample, catalog of them and different profiles. We work with research institutions, we work with large companies, we work with SMEs, mid caps, we work with universities as well, even the public administration sometimes. So yeah, and sometimes the partners may become clients.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's a really interesting environment.
So, tell me, and I like to make this question always. In this experience you've had, was there one project that you liked the most, the one that left better memories, or are there?
Well, yeah, there was one called cyberwiser.eu. And the thing about this project is that I coordinated the proposal preparation. It
Mhm.
was in the summer of 2017. It was in the times when the cybersecurity call was in summer. So every summer was really stressful for us, for the people who were working on cybersecurity. Here in Sevilla, it's extremely hot in summer. So I was
I
working
know.
mostly during the night, and in the night was really hot as well. And in the middle of that heat, you had to work on the coordination of the proposal, put everything together, making sure that the proposal was strong enough. You had to deal with the partners, gather the contributions. During the day, you had to hold the meetings, everything with the heat. And on top of that, I was expecting my first daughter to be born, and it would happen in September. And the thing is that I didn't know if the birth would take place before or after the actual submission of the proposal. So I had I needed a plan internally to my team to have someone finishing the work in case I had to run to the hospital. So, and yeah, it's an anecdote. And the thing is that, yeah, the girl came with an awarded proposal. And after that, I coordinated the project execution of the project as well. So I did the whole cycle. The only thing I didn't do was the final review because I was on parental leave due to the birth of my son, of the second one. So it's a project that happened between the two births.
Between the two, you
The
did
two
the
kids,
project.
yeah, exactly.
I
And
see.
that's the thing. So the only thing I missed was the final review. The rest, I did the whole cycle. So I coordinated the proposal and I coordinated the project.
And let's talk about the future. What kind of projects are you looking forward to run in the future?
Well, I have been involved in research and innovation actions and innovation actions. I have done a bit of both types of projects. Now I am working on my first coordination and support action. So it's the third
Mhm.
type of project. I was really interested to work on this type of projects. For the moment, my contribution is rather small because I don't have so much time. I have a lot of obligations with respect to running the PMO, the R&D PMO in the company. But I find time to devote to the CSA, and I would like to drill down into this type of project because it's the other type for which I am not that experienced. I would like to gain experience as well. I think it's a really interesting one because as far as I know, or as far as I have understood from other colleagues, it's a type of project in which the cooperation with the Commission is more it's tighter, is more side to side, the interaction with them is more frequent, and maybe it's clearer how the client or the funding entity is benefiting from the results of the project, especially in terms of contribution to policies.
Well, I hope you don't mind. We'll put your contacts in the episode notes so that people who are interested in that area can reach you and eventually uh, think about new projects, new proposals. Before we end, can I ask you to leave a message, a final message, maybe to newcomers, maybe to people who are considering their first experience? What would you tell them?
Well, I would say a couple of things. First, devote all the time you need. Don't be in a hurry. So study the different funding instruments. Study the different options you have. Don't go quickly to maybe Horizon Europe because it's the most popular one, or no, go to the one that is actually suitable for you, and the one that actually is meeting your requirements, is more in line with your circumstances, with what you want to do with your projects. So try invest time in understanding the different instruments, the different frameworks. And also, if you are going to prepare a proposal, do it with time. So start in advance,
Start early.
because if you are rushing, your chances are going to decrease clearly. So it's important to do things with enough preparation time. And finally, if you are awarded the grant, it's very important that you keep present that the administrative part is not neglectable at all.
Mhm.
So you will need specific people, well-prepared people to deal with all the paperwork of the project, because it's not it's a task that is fundamental. All the reporting to the commission, because the commission needs to make sure that the grant is used properly.
Mhm.
To do that, there is a lot of paperwork you have to do, reports, the financial report, etc. And to do that, you need people who know what they are doing. Okay.
I see your point. Let me add to what you said in the beginning that we had another Spanish guest a few weeks ago. We had him in the podcast telling us that every day of the year there are around between 500 and 1,000 open calls. So when you say that people should really study what's the most interesting, they need that time to do
Yes.
that. They need to consider the different programs. Uh, Before we end, you have all this knowledge and this experience of EU-funded projects, and you've been kind enough to give all this great advice to newcomers. But if you could change one thing in this whole process, if you could have the commission change one thing, only one, what would that be?
Well, it's a controversial thing, because when we talk about innovation, we talk about running against the time, right? So
Yeah.
maybe we should find the way to shorten things, to maybe to shorten the evaluation periods, make sure that the project starts as soon as possible, maybe do shorter projects to have results earlier. Maybe something in that direction, because Europe is competing against two very strong uh, countries, which are the US and China, and they have their own pace, their own mechanism, and the reality is that we need to, to be more we need to be more competitive. It has to do with innovating in a quicker and more agile way. So we need to find mechanisms to make things, let's say, more agile, I would say.
So you want to speed up the process. I see your point.
Yes, yes,
I see your
exactly.
point.
Of course, not risking the quality. So we need to find the trade-off, right, between time and quality, but I am very confident about the fact that in Europe we have brilliant people, brilliant minds to shape things up, to think about how to optimize all the machinery. I am very confident that dedicating some time to think about it, we can make things quicker and run against against the time in a better way, let's say.
I think that positive note is a
Mm.
great place
Mm.
to end. So I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you
And
so much.
well, see you soon, hopefully, in another EU call or another project or another podcast. I don't know. Thank you
Uh,
very much for your time.
Thank you very much for inviting me and have fun.
Imagine connecting every soil sensor, supply chain ledger, and subsidy form in Europe through one trusted data backbone. That's the promise. And Brussels is paying the bill. A new €15 million EU call is live Digital 2025 AA08 Agri-Food. It funds a multi-country digital infrastructure for agri-food, and you can be part of it. Objectives? Build a cross-border data platform, unleash smart agri-pilots, reduce red tape, and align with AI and EID targets. You'll need a European consortium, ideally an EDIC, with partners from at least 3 EU countries. You know, up to 65% of the budget can be re-granted as mini-grants to third parties, with a maximum of €500,000 each. Quite an opportunity, isn't it? So, when's the deadline to apply, you ask? Well, it's on the 2nd of September 2025 at 5 p.m. CEST. Make sure you mark your calendars. The winning project is set to reduce paperwork, boost competitiveness, and scale data-driven services across the EU. Sounds like a game changer, right? For full details, just head over to the EU Funding and Tenders portal. Remember, this isn't just funding, it's your future business model, so act now.
InnovEU, the EU Project Chronicles, is a weekly video podcast. Please subscribe the Polixdocs newsletter to receive every podcast episode. And if you like receiving it, please press like in whatever platform you are watching or listening. Also, please share InnovEU and Polixdocs with anyone you feel will enjoy it. Credits: author and host Fernando C. Gaspar, music Hugo Gaspar, Lisbon, Portugal, 2024. Reach us by email or DM.